What if the only thing standing between you and more money is not the world, not opportunity, not luck, but a quiet decision your future self has not yet made? In the next 60 seconds, you can teach that future self a new agreement with life. Money is not something you chase. It is something you permit. The moment you accept more within, life has no choice but to reflect more without. Money flows where it is welcomed, not where it is begged for, because life responds to inner permission rather than outer desperation. When the mind begs, it secretly declares absence. It affirms that money is outside, distant, controlled by forces that must be convinced. This inner posture pushes supply away even while the lips ask for it. Welcoming money is a completely different state of consciousness. It assumes that money belongs in your life, that it has a right to circulate through you, and that your role is not to plead but to receive. When something is welcomed, there is no tension in the body or fear in the thought. There is space, there is ease, there is expectation without strain. This is why people who appear relaxed about money often receive more of it. Their minds are not crowded with resistance. They have made room. Begging is often subtle. It can look like overworking to prove worth, overthinking to control outcome, or constantly checking results to see if something has arrived yet. Each of these behaviors sends a silent message that money is uncertain and scarce. The subconscious hears this message clearly and faithfully reproduces conditions that match it. Welcoming, on the other hand, is an inner posture that says money is safe with me. Money is understood here. Money is allowed to come in ways that feel natural and honorable. This posture does not require effort. It requires agreement. The moment the agreement changes, the current changes. Welcoming money also means releasing the belief that it must come through struggle. Many people have been trained to associate value with hardship. They feel uncomfortable receiving easily because ease feels undeserved. This discomfort blocks flow more effectively than lack of opportunity. When the mind relaxes its grip on struggle, it stops interfering with the channels of supply. Life does not need to be convinced to give. It needs to be allowed. The welcoming mind allows by trusting that there is more than enough and that receiving more does not deprive anyone else. When money is welcomed, it is no longer treated as an emotional authority. It becomes a tool rather than a judge. This shift is powerful because money often reflects how a person relates to approval, safety, and self-expression. By welcoming money, you are not just inviting currency, you are inviting expansion in identity. You are saying, I can handle more, I can steward more, I can circulate more good. Life responds to this maturity quickly because it can trust the vessel. Acceptance is a decision, not a process, because the mind changes realities the moment it chooses a new standpoint. Many people believe acceptance takes time because they confuse decision with repetition. Repetition helps stabilize a decision, but it does not create it. A decision is instantaneous. It is the inner click where the mind stops arguing and starts assuming. The moment you decide to accept more money, you are no longer negotiating with life. You are instructing it. Waiting to feel ready keeps acceptance permanently delayed. Readiness is often a feeling that arrives after acceptance, not before it. If acceptance depended on feeling confident, healed, or perfect, very few people would ever move forward. Acceptance begins with willingness. It says, I am open now, even if old thoughts still appear. Those old thoughts lose power when they are no longer consulted. Decision outranks habit. Seeing acceptance as a process often gives the mind permission to delay. It says, someday I will believe. Someday I will feel worthy. Someday it will be natural. But life responds to now. The future self is shaped by present agreements. When acceptance is decided now, the subconscious reorganizes behavior, perception, and opportunity to match that decision. New ideas feel obvious. New chances feel normal. Old limits feel irrelevant. Decision also simplifies action. When acceptance is undecided, every step feels heavy because the mind is divided. When acceptance is decided, action becomes light because it is no longer trying to force results. It is simply expressing an inner knowing. This is why people who have truly decided to accept more often appear calm even before results show up. Their nervous system has already shifted. Life follows that shift. Acceptance does not mean pretending there are no challenges. It means challenges are no longer interpreted as denial. They are seen as movement, adjustment, redirection. The accepting mind does not panic at delay because it is not questioning the outcome. It understands that timing and arrangement are part of the same intelligence that provides supply. This understanding keeps the channel open. When you recognize that acceptance is a decision, you stop asking how long it will take and start noticing how quickly life responds. You become attentive to subtle openings instead of dramatic miracles only. Money often enters first as ideas, connections, impulses, or invitations. The undecided mind ignores these because it is waiting for proof. The decided mind recognizes them because it is expecting flow. The power of this decision is that it does not need maintenance through force. It is maintained through consistency of identity. You begin to think, speak, and choose as someone who accepts more. This is not affirmation as repetition, but affirmation as orientation. Your future self grows out of this orientation naturally, without strain, without pressure, without interruption. Words spoken with certainty instruct the future because language is more than a communication tool. It is a creative instrument. Every word carries energy, whether spoken aloud or silently held in thought. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between imagination and reality. When statements are made with confidence, they act as directives to the mind, guiding perception, behavior, and expectation. People often underestimate the subtle power of language. Casual phrases like "I hope," "I wish," or "I cannot" carry with them seeds of limitation, planting doubt in the subconscious that manifests as obstacles or missed opportunities. Conversely, words rooted in certainty, such as "I receive," "I am open," or "I attract," serve as commands to the unseen, shaping circumstances in alignment with intention. This is why the consistent use of precise, affirmative language is critical. It is not enough to desire something. Desire must be accompanied by statements that assume fulfillment as a natural state. Over time, these statements create a neural map in the brain that aligns thought patterns, emotional responses, and action habits toward the outcome being welcomed. The future self absorbs these instructions without resistance, learning to operate as someone who naturally receives rather than as someone who struggles to gain. Language transforms the intangible into tangible reality by encoding expectation into the deepest layers of consciousness. Certainty in speech goes beyond mere repetition or ritual. It demands conviction. Many people attempt to direct their future with positive statements, but lack the inner feeling that accompanies truth. Words without emotional resonance are empty, like seeds cast on barren soil. To instruct the future effectively, statements must carry the authority of inner belief. This is why hesitation, doubt, or contradiction within speech diminishes results. When a person declares "I am prosperous," but internally harbors fear that it is impossible, the subconscious receives two competing messages and defaults to the one that has more emotional charge. Consistency of thought, feeling, and speech is essential because it eliminates internal conflict and accelerates manifestation. Certainty is magnetic. It draws opportunities, ideas, and resources without effort, not by coercion, but by alignment. The universe responds to clarity and decisiveness. Just as a skilled architect lays a blueprint and the structure rises accordingly, the mind, given unambiguous instruction through certain words, aligns reality to match. Feeling is the agreement that seals the command because emotion is the adhesive between thought and manifestation. The mind responds to logic, but reality responds to emotional conviction. If certainty in words sets the directive, feeling ensures that directive is integrated deeply into the subconscious. The emotional charge of relief, joy, or calm expectation signals to the mind that the outcome is acceptable, safe, and already in process. Many people rely on hope or excitement alone, but hope is often tinged with fear, and excitement is frequently unstable, tied to circumstances. Relief, however, conveys trust without tension. It is the sensation that everything is already aligned and that resistance is unnecessary. The mind receives this as a green light, and subtle shifts begin to occur. Actions, ideas, and opportunities emerge effortlessly because there is no inner friction obstructing the flow. Feeling, when consciously directed, transforms mere statements into lived reality. It amplifies certainty and embeds the instruction into the very architecture of thought, ensuring that the future self does not question the directive but grows naturally into it. Emotional resonance also governs receptivity. Without proper feeling, words risk remaining intellectual exercises. Intellectual understanding alone rarely produces tangible results. The mind must be persuaded not only by the logic of words but by the certainty felt in the body and heart. When the emotional system signals alignment, neural pathways strengthen around abundance and opportunity rather than scarcity and limitation. Repetition of positive statements becomes exponentially more effective when combined with calm, confident feeling because the subconscious recognizes congruence. The future self learns from this congruence, adapting to think and act in harmony with abundance. The process is akin to training a muscle. The more consistently the emotional response supports the command, the more natural it becomes and the easier it is to sustain. Over time, the internal state shifts from questioning and resisting to expecting and receiving, creating a fertile ground for external opportunities to match inner belief. Certainty and feeling work together to overcome habitual skepticism. Many individuals carry deeply ingrained doubts or old programming that insists money is scarce, opportunity is limited, or effort must always be painful. These beliefs act as filters, preventing new possibilities from reaching conscious awareness. Words spoken with certainty pierce these old patterns, sending signals that contradict the default scarcity narrative. Feeling ensures the signal is strong enough to be received by the subconscious and integrated. Without both elements, the mind may hear the statement but fail to act on it, leaving the future self stuck in old patterns. When words carry the weight of belief and are paired with appropriate emotional resonance, the subconscious no longer resists. It begins to rewire expectations, habits, and perceptions, aligning them with abundance rather than limitation. Gradually, the future self starts operating from a place of certainty, making decisions and taking actions that naturally attract money and opportunity. This alignment of speech and feeling also affects perception. The mind begins to notice possibilities previously invisible, recognizing solutions and pathways that were overlooked under doubt or fear. This is why some individuals seem to encounter serendipitous opportunities while others struggle to move forward despite equal effort. The difference lies in the internal signal sent to the subconscious and the emotional tone backing it. Certainty informs the subconscious of intention, and feeling communicates readiness to receive. Together, they generate a lens through which life appears abundant and responsive. The future self benefits from this recalibration immediately, perceiving life as a system of continuous provision rather than a series of obstacles. The mind, body, and environment begin to operate as a cohesive system aligned to the accepted direction, producing results that appear effortless but are deeply rooted in internal agreement. The principle extends to subtle forms of communication as well. Not all directives are spoken aloud. Thoughts, self-talk, and internal dialogue serve the same function. The subconscious does not differentiate between internal and external speech, only between certainty and doubt. Therefore, monitoring the quality of thoughts is as important as monitoring spoken words. Every internal statement of scarcity, hesitation, or lack counters the effect of conscious affirmation. The future self learns from both what is declared and what is believed internally. By cultivating internal dialogue that mirrors certainty, individuals create a consistent environment for the future self to inhabit, reinforcing the pathway for money, opportunity, and abundance to flow naturally. The combination of words spoken with certainty and feeling that seals the command produces an energetic signature that attracts appropriate circumstances. Life responds not to casual wishes but to directed, emotionally reinforced instruction. The future self internalizes this signature, carrying it into decisions, interactions, and actions without conscious effort. Opportunities, financial channels, and resources align because the internal landscape has been reshaped. The future self no longer hesitates or negotiates with scarcity. It assumes provision, interprets challenges as temporary, and moves confidently towards solutions. The result is not luck. It is the natural unfolding of an internal decision reinforced by words and emotion, demonstrating that certainty in language and depth of feeling are not auxiliary tools but central mechanisms for teaching the future self to accept more, receive more, and operate from a place of inherent abundance. Struggle is a habit, not a requirement, because it is often learned rather than inherent. From an early age, many are conditioned to associate value with effort, difficulty, and sacrifice. Society reinforces the idea that reward must be earned through struggle, that comfort is suspicious, and that anything obtained easily is undeserved. This creates a mental framework where individuals unconsciously attract or even manufacture obstacles as a way to validate the belief that struggle is necessary. People may push themselves beyond reason, stay in unfulfilling situations, or resist opportunities simply because ease feels unfamiliar or even threatening. The mind, operating on habitual patterns, seeks what it knows. When the internal narrative revolves around effort as the measure of worth, life arranges circumstances that reflect and reinforce that belief. Recognizing struggle as habit rather than obligation allows a conscious choice to break free. Abundance is not dependent on hardship. Money, opportunities, and success do not require suffering to be valid. Understanding this shifts the internal state from tension and resistance to receptivity and flow. Breaking the habit of struggle requires awareness and intentional redirection of thought. Most people operate automatically, responding to challenges with learned coping mechanisms that equate hard work with eventual reward. This automaticity hides the truth that struggle is optional, not prescribed. By observing patterns, questioning beliefs, and noticing how internal dialogue perpetuates scarcity, one begins to see struggle as a choice rather than destiny. For instance, someone who constantly worries about finances may feel justified in overworking, believing that only relentless effort will ensure stability. Yet, the real barrier is the unconscious acceptance of struggle as necessary. Once this mental barrier is identified, it can be replaced with a different assumption that resources and opportunities are naturally available to those who are prepared to receive them. This shift in perception changes behavior without forcing effort. The mind no longer seeks validation through hardship, but seeks alignment with natural abundance. The perception of struggle is reinforced by fear, resistance, and doubt. When life feels difficult, it is often a reflection of inner tension projected outward. Fear of loss, fear of inadequacy, and fear of unworthiness create resistance that manifests as obstacles, delays, and conflicts. The mind interprets these conditions as proof that struggle is unavoidable, perpetuating the cycle. However, when fear is replaced with trust, tension diminishes, and the apparent difficulty of life eases. Choosing to release struggle is a form of psychological and emotional training. It involves cultivating confidence that life will respond to clarity, expectation, and preparation rather than sheer force. This does not mean passivity or laziness. It means shifting from reactive effort to proactive alignment, from trying to force outcomes to creating conditions where outcomes flow naturally. The energy formerly spent on struggle is redirected toward observation, decision, and inspired action. The habit of struggle often masks deeper beliefs about worth and deservingness. Many individuals equate pain with merit, feeling that if something is obtained easily, it lacks value or significance. This creates a paradox where opportunities are resisted, delays are tolerated, and self-sabotage occurs unconsciously. Money and success become elusive not because they are scarce, but because the mind is not fully open to receiving without condition. By consciously affirming that abundance is rightful, attainable, and effortless, this internal conflict is resolved. The mind learns that value is inherent, not earned through hardship. This recognition transforms both perception and behavior. Tasks that once felt burdensome are approached with clarity, challenges are navigated with confidence, and the flow of resources becomes consistent because the internal state now mirrors the principle of natural provision. The subconscious mind plays a pivotal role in reinforcing struggle or dissolving it. It responds to repeated thought patterns, emotional states, and beliefs. If struggle has been internalized over time, the subconscious orchestrates circumstances that match that expectation, producing obstacles and delays that feel real and unavoidable. Conversely, when the mind consciously rejects struggle as a prerequisite, it begins to organize conditions that align with ease and receptivity. This is why internal change precedes external results. The future self adapts to the new pattern by noticing opportunities, responding efficiently, and trusting the flow of resources. Life becomes less about forcing outcomes and more about aligning with intelligence that recognizes preparedness, openness, and the capacity to receive. The subconscious acts as both filter and facilitator, ensuring that mental assumptions manifest as lived reality. The subconscious also responds to emotional resonance. Struggle carries with it tension, urgency, and anxiety, which the subconscious interprets as a signal to reinforce pressure and challenge. Relief, calm, expectation, and certainty carry an opposite signal: openness, trust, and alignment. The more these positive emotional states are cultivated, the less the mind defaults to struggle. Practicing acceptance, feeling relief when opportunities appear, and reinforcing the belief that money flows naturally create a new emotional baseline. The subconscious no longer needs to manufacture difficulty to match expectation. Instead, it becomes a partner in manifesting abundance, guiding perception, decision-making, and action toward effortless success. This demonstrates that struggle is a learned response, and by consciously choosing alignment over effort, it can be undone. The conscious mind contributes to perpetuating or dissolving struggle through language and self-talk. Phrases such as "I have to work hard, it is never easy," or "I will make it happen by force" reinforce the habit. These statements, even when intended as motivation, signal the subconscious that difficulty is a requirement. Replacing them with affirmations of ease, natural provision, and alignment reshapes mental programming. The future self absorbs these patterns, learning to operate from a state of expectation rather than fear. The language we use daily is not neutral, it instructs the mind, and by extension, reality. Conscious monitoring and deliberate choice of words redirect habitual struggle into conscious, empowered effort aligned with natural flow. The habit of struggle is also maintained through comparison and societal conditioning. Observing others who struggle or believing that struggle is a mark of authenticity reinforces the pattern. Many people take pride in hardship, equating busyness and difficulty with identity. Recognizing that these comparisons are arbitrary and that abundance is not limited by the effort of others allows a shift in perspective. Life responds to the inner agreement, not external appearances. The future self operates from a personal standard of alignment rather than imitation of struggle. By observing where tension is habitual and choosing consciously to release it, the mind rewires itself to accept natural flow without guilt or resistance. The subconscious mind is highly receptive to imagery, habit, and emotion, all of which reinforce struggle or ease. Visualizing abundance flowing naturally, feeling relief as resources appear, and practicing expectation without panic reprogram the internal system. The habitual patterns of struggle diminish as new neural pathways are reinforced. This creates a foundation for the future self to operate effortlessly, noticing opportunities and responding to them without unnecessary resistance. By understanding that struggle is habit, not requirement, the mind is liberated from unnecessary tension. Money, success, and opportunities no longer appear contingent upon suffering. Instead, they are received as natural extensions of alignment, expectation, and readiness. The internal shift from forcing to allowing fundamentally changes the external landscape, proving that struggle is optional and abundance is the natural consequence of conscious agreement. The subconscious also learns from repetition, reinforcement, and experience. Each moment the mind chooses alignment over struggle strengthens the new pattern. Small successes and smooth manifestations serve as proof to the subconscious that ease is valid. The future self internalizes this evidence, learning to anticipate flow rather than resist it. Over time, patterns of unnecessary effort dissolve entirely. Life stops requiring struggle because the internal environment no longer calls for it. The habit is replaced with expectation, readiness, and natural reception. This demonstrates the profound principle that struggle is not a law of life, but a self-imposed pattern, and conscious, consistent alignment creates the conditions for effortless abundance. The subconscious further reinforces patterns of ease when emotional states are intentionally cultivated. Relaxation, calm confidence, and joyful anticipation signal that abundance is acceptable and expected. This emotional tone influences perception, decision-making, and action in ways that mimic the effortless reception of life's resources. The future self, guided by these internal cues, navigates opportunities with assurance, making choices that reflect readiness rather than desperation. The mind no longer seeks to manufacture struggle as proof of worth, and the pattern becomes self-sustaining. The alignment of thought, emotion, and expectation replaces the habit of struggle with natural, responsive, and empowered living. This creates a future self capable of receiving, creating, and circulating abundance without resistance, demonstrating that struggle is learned and can be consciously undone, revealing the effortless provision that is always available in life. The subconscious continues to respond to consistent signals of ease over time, reinforcing new habits of expectation and receptivity. Each action taken from alignment rather than tension strengthens the neural patterns associated with abundance. The future self gradually internalizes these habits, approaching life from a state of calm readiness rather than reactive effort. By consistently choosing perception, emotion, and action that align with natural flow, struggle diminishes and eventually disappears as a habitual default. This proves that abundance is not a reward for suffering but a natural outcome of conscious alignment, demonstrating that the mind can learn to operate without struggle, and the future self can accept more money and opportunities effortlessly, responding to life with confidence, ease, and expectation that the subconscious obeys calm authority instantly because it is designed to respond to the dominant patterns of thought and emotion rather than surface reasoning. It does not evaluate logic, debate intention, or negotiate outcomes. It registers with precision the signals sent by consistent thought, feeling, and internalized belief. When a person projects calm authority, the subconscious interprets as certainty, trust, and alignment. This is why panic, doubt, and worry are so disruptive. They send conflicting messages, causing hesitation, delay, or blockage in the flow of abundance. Calm authority is not forceful, it is steady, assured, and internally coherent. It carries the invisible weight of decision, expectation, and readiness, which the subconscious recognizes immediately and begins to act upon. When the future self receives this imprint, it adapts naturally, moving in alignment with the calm certainty established in the present. The subconscious does not procrastinate, question, or resist when authority is calm and consistent. It acts as a faithful executor of the mental and emotional instructions provided. Calm authority is cultivated through consistency of thought, emotion, and action. When all three elements align toward a clear goal, the subconscious experiences no conflict. The mind does not need to reconcile contradictory messages, nor does it need to filter out panic or insecurity. This consistency creates a smooth pathway for energy, attention, and decision-making to flow toward the intended outcome. When a person practices calm authority, they are not forcing results. They are providing clear, unambiguous signals to the subconscious that guide the future self. These signals direct perception, attract opportunities, and organize circumstances to match internal expectation. The subconscious interprets calm authority as readiness and competence. It recognizes that the individual is prepared to receive and manage abundance, which allows life to align accordingly. The future self absorbs this calibration effortlessly, acting and responding from a place of certainty. Authority exercised calmly also impacts decision-making. People who operate from a place of inner calm can make choices quickly and confidently. The subconscious has learned to trust the instructions given by the mind and body, so hesitation diminishes. Decisions are made not from fear or reaction, but from observation and alignment with a clear intention. This efficiency multiplies the ability to recognize and seize opportunities. Those who lack calm authority often waver, second-guess, or overanalyze, creating friction between desire and action. By contrast, the calm, authoritative mind sets the stage for effortless movement. The future self, trained through this consistency, navigates life with confidence, recognizing pathways to abundance that others might miss or dismiss. The subconscious, responding instantly, organizes experiences to match the decisiveness and clarity projected by calm authority. The effect of calm authority extends to the perception of external circumstances. Life responds to internal stability as if it were a signal of preparedness. When fear or anxiety dominate, external conditions appear threatening, difficult, or limiting. When calm authority prevails, challenges are interpreted as manageable, opportunities as apparent, and interactions as navigable. The subconscious filters information through the lens of internal authority. It notices solutions, sees connections, and interprets signals that align with abundance rather than scarcity. The future self benefits from this recalibration, developing the ability to respond appropriately, take inspired action, and make the most of available resources. The external world becomes a mirror of internal alignment, demonstrating the practical effect of calm authority in shaping experience. Calm authority is not arrogance, impatience, or force. It is rooted in understanding that life is responsive, not hostile. It arises from awareness of patterns, experience with internal and external cause and effect, and confidence in one's capacity to manage resources and opportunities. The subconscious registers this form of authority as safety, competence, and readiness, eliminating the need to produce struggle or resistance to enforce outcomes. The future self internalizes these signals, acting naturally with assurance rather than compulsion. Every decision, thought, and action begins to reflect the steady, unshakable authority that the subconscious recognizes as valid. Life, in response, aligns to facilitate ease, provision, and the natural flow of abundance. Worthiness does not increase. It is recognized because the sense of deserving is already inherent, not earned. Many people operate under the mistaken belief that they must accumulate proof, demonstrate value, or endure hardship to be worthy of abundance. This belief blocks reception and creates unnecessary struggle. In reality, worthiness is not something to achieve. It is a state of acknowledgement, a recognition of the intrinsic value present in every individual. When the subconscious and conscious mind accept this, external circumstances naturally reflect it. Recognition of worthiness is not contingent upon achievement, approval, or comparison. It is an internal decree that signals the mind and body that abundance is appropriate, deserved, and welcome. The future self internalizes this recognition, moving confidently toward opportunity, resources, and relationships that align with inherent value. Worthiness is a lens, not a target, and when acknowledged, it removes barriers to natural flow. Recognition of worthiness operates through mental and emotional alignment. Doubt, guilt, and comparison obscure the awareness of inherent value. When these are replaced with clarity, calm authority, and expectation, the subconscious interprets the individual as prepared to receive. The future self, guided by this internal acceptance, navigates decisions and opportunities without hesitation or resistance. Recognition of worthiness also reshapes perception, allowing one to notice potential that previously seemed invisible or inaccessible. Life presents options and resources not because they are earned, but because they are acknowledged as fitting and appropriate. This understanding transforms the dynamic with abundance from one of pursuit to one of natural reception. The subconscious acts as both guardian and facilitator, ensuring that the recognition of worthiness translates into tangible results. Worthiness interacts with external alignment. When internal recognition of value is consistent, external life mirrors this perception. Opportunities, financial flows, and relationships arise naturally. The subconscious interprets steady signals of worthiness as readiness and responsibility, and orchestrates conditions accordingly. The future self operates from this baseline of recognition, capable of receiving without hesitation, fear, or self-imposed limitation. The sense of deserving does not fluctuate based on circumstance because it originates internally, not externally. This internal consistency shapes behavior, perception, and outcomes, creating a feedback loop where recognition of worthiness begets opportunities, and opportunities reinforce the sense of worth. The cycle establishes a natural rhythm of abundance aligned with internal understanding. The interplay between calm authority and recognition of worthiness is central to creating a life of abundance. Calm authority provides direction, clarity, and decisive instruction to the subconscious, while recognition of worthiness ensures that the individual is open to receive without resistance. Together, they create an internal environment where the future self can operate effortlessly. Decisions are confident, perception is clear, and actions are aligned. The subconscious responds instantly to this coherence, generating experience, resources, and opportunities that reflect the internal state. Life ceases to be a struggle and becomes a reflection of inner stability, clarity, and acceptance of inherent value. Abundance follows naturally as a consequence of alignment, rather than as a reward for effort. The subconscious is highly responsive to the combination of calm authority and recognition of worthiness because it seeks congruence. Conflicting messages, hesitation, or self-doubt create friction that slows manifestation. When the mind consistently communicates readiness, confidence, and inherent deserving, the subconscious removes obstacles that previously appeared unavoidable. The future self internalizes these patterns, perceives possibilities, and acts from a position of natural confidence. The effect is cumulative. Each experience reinforces the internal state, and each decision made from calm authority and recognition of worthiness strengthens the capacity to receive. Over time, the alignment becomes habitual, creating a stable internal foundation upon which abundance and opportunity flow effortlessly. Supply expands the moment resistance ends because energy follows the path of least opposition. Resistance, whether conscious or unconscious, acts as a dam that slows or redirects the natural flow of resources. Many people unknowingly block abundance through doubt, worry, fear, or the insistence on controlling every detail of outcomes. These forms of resistance signal to the subconscious and to life itself that flow is unwanted or unsafe. The moment resistance is consciously released, energy shifts, the mental and emotional channels that were clogged with tension open, allowing opportunities, ideas, and resources to move freely. Supply does not wait for struggle, persuasion, or force. It responds instantly to openness. By choosing to release resistance, individuals allow circumstances to realign naturally, creating the conditions for abundance to arrive with ease and speed. The future self experiences this shift as an effortless unfolding of opportunity, perceiving life as a system designed to supply rather than restrict. Resistance is a choice, and when it is consciously abandoned, the universe meets readiness with immediate response. Resistance is often subtle. It appears as hesitation, overanalysis, or attachment to a specific outcome. It manifests as procrastination, fear of failure, or reluctance to accept help or new opportunities. Each of these mental and emotional patterns signals to the subconscious that abundance is not fully welcomed, delaying manifestation. The key is awareness, recognizing the internal tension and making a deliberate choice to allow. Allowing does not mean passivity or ignoring responsibility. It means trusting that when one acts from alignment, the necessary resources will be present. The mind, body, and subconscious register this trust, and opportunities begin to flow effortlessly. Supply is not limited. It expands naturally once the mental and emotional barriers that resisted it are released. The future self becomes accustomed to receiving with ease, interpreting life's responses as affirmations of openness rather than struggle. The process of releasing resistance requires both conscious and emotional participation. Mentally deciding to let go is the first step, but the emotional system must follow. Anxiety, doubt, or clinging to control continue to create friction if unresolved. Practicing relief, trust, and expectation allows the subconscious to recalibrate. As mental and emotional resistance diminishes, the pathways for supply widen. Ideas, connections, and resources that were previously obscured by tension become visible and accessible. The subconscious recognizes readiness and begins to orchestrate conditions accordingly. The future self absorbs this pattern, learning to navigate opportunities and challenges with confidence and receptivity. Supply expands because the internal environment now matches the external intelligence that governs provision. Demonstrate the principle that abundance flows most easily to those who are willing to allow it without resistance. The future self lives from today's agreements because the choices made in the present moment shape internal beliefs, emotional patterns, and behavioral habits. Every decision, thought, and emotional state creates a blueprint that the subconscious uses to organize experiences. Agreements made today establish expectation, perception, and readiness for tomorrow. If one consistently agrees with limitation, fear, or scarcity, the future self inherits those patterns, perceiving obstacles where opportunities exist. Conversely, when the present self consciously agrees with openness, abundance, and trust, the future self operates from a foundation of expectancy. This is why deliberate agreements, intentional statements of alignment, emotional reinforcement, and decisiveness are critical. They instruct the subconscious on how to interpret experiences and respond. The future self becomes the living embodiment of these agreements, capable of acting from clarity, confidence, and readiness rather than fear or hesitation. Agreements function as both blueprint and signal. They inform the subconscious of what is acceptable, desirable, and expected. The more consistent and reinforced the agreement, the stronger the internal pattern becomes. Each agreement made today shapes perception, decision-making, and opportunity recognition for the future self. For example, an agreement to receive abundance without struggle establishes expectation, reduces resistance, and guides attention toward opportunities that align with that intention. The subconscious coordinates circumstances accordingly. The future self experiences life as a reflection of these agreements, noticing synchronicities, resources, and solutions that were previously overlooked. This demonstrates that the present moment is the lever for shaping the future. Conscious agreements create a foundation for effortless reception and action. The emotional component of agreement is essential. Simply stating an intention without feeling is insufficient because the subconscious responds primarily to emotional resonance. Trust, relief, calm expectation, and certainty amplify the effect of agreements, embedding them deeply into the internal system. When the mind and heart are aligned, the subconscious interprets this as readiness, competence, and permission to orchestrate circumstances in favor of the intended outcome. future self, molded by these emotional and mental agreements, operates from a state of confidence and ease. It recognizes opportunities, responds efficiently, and navigates life in alignment with abundance rather than scarcity. The combination of deliberate choice and emotional reinforcement ensures that the agreements create tangible, observable shifts in external reality. Releasing resistance and establishing agreements also influences perception and attention. When internal opposition is dissolved, the mind begins to notice solutions, opportunities, and resources that were previously invisible. The subconscious filters experience through a lens of readiness, allowing the future self to act from clarity rather than fear. The internal environment governs the external experience, demonstrating that abundance is not primarily about external conditions but about alignment within. The choices made today, what is accepted, allowed, and expected, shape the ability to perceive and utilize resources tomorrow. The future self thrives in conditions created by conscious agreement and the absence of resistance, responding naturally to opportunities as they arise. Supply expands the moment resistance ends because resistance is fundamentally a contraction of energy. Contraction limits perception, slows decision-making, and obscures opportunity. Expansion occurs when the mind and emotions relax, creating space for flow. The subconscious recognizes this change immediately and begins to orchestrate circumstances accordingly. The future self, trained through the habitual release of resistance, navigates life with ease, expecting provision, and noticing opportunities that align with readiness. Abundance is no longer sporadic or contingent. It becomes a consistent pattern because the internal environment has been reprogrammed to allow it. The principle demonstrates that the flow of resources is directly proportional to the absence of internal friction and the clarity of present agreements. Agreements also serve as instructions for action. When the present self commits to openness, readiness, and expectation, the subconscious coordinates behavior, perception, and opportunities to align with that directive. The future self becomes capable of acting decisively, recognizing the right steps, and utilizing available resources effectively. This internal coherence reduces hesitation, eliminates unnecessary struggle, and transforms obstacles into navigable challenges. By consciously choosing agreements today, the individual equips the future self with a framework for success, abundance, and flow. Life responds immediately because the subconscious does not wait for external proof. It acts upon internal alignment, generating conditions that mirror the clarity and openness established in the present. The interplay between releasing resistance and establishing present agreements is critical. Resistance blocks supply, while agreement opens channels. The mind cannot hold both simultaneously with equal authority. When resistance is consciously dissolved, agreements gain strength and effectiveness. The subconscious registers this coherence and organizes reality to match. The future self operates from these established patterns, responding naturally to opportunities, abundance, and resources that previously seemed out of reach. Each decision and action taken in alignment reinforces the internal architecture, creating a self-sustaining cycle where supply flows naturally, expectations are met effortlessly, and life becomes a reflection of internal readiness rather than external struggle. The principle emphasizes that abundance is immediate, responsive, and aligned with the present choices that the mind and heart make, teaching the future self to live from a place of clarity, openness, and receptive expectation.